Welcome to this episode of the Million Dollar Mastermind. I'm Larry Weidel, and before we get started, if you want to know exactly how to win again and again, go to weidelonwinning.com/webinar now to watch something I've put together for you. Now let's get going into this episode of Million Dollar Mastermind. I am back with Jenny Goldfarb, and we're just having a ball talking about winning, because let me tell you folks, winning's a whole lot more fun than losing. And but you gotta work for it, but it is more, the payoff is more than you can possibly imagine. And would you say, just as far as you've come so far, the benefits and the things that you've seen, the impact on your kids, your marriage, your community, yourself. You dug deep. You've worked like a maniac, at times to pull this off. But is the payoff worth it?
Oh, the payoff is the sweetest. People will say to me sometimes, "Do you want to sell the company?" I'm like, "What? So I can go back to painting my nails?" No, this is I'm living my dream. I want to do more and more of this. So
Yeah,
that's my
yeah.
answer.
People somehow who have not turned themselves loose to get going always feel like people have got something wonderful going on in their life. They can't wait to give it up. They only see the work side of it. They don't see how much fun it is. And
Yes.
also, the chance to meet other motivated people and to pick up ideas that way. It's just like, it's kind of like the faster you go, the faster you can go. The more people,
Totally.
the more positive people you meet, the more positive people you can, the more it's unlimited in the ideas and exposure. Now, in your life, your product line is at what point now?
So we went from having this one little vegan corned beef product to only available for like local food service, which means basically like local delis and restaurants, to being able to make it nationwide for food service, to then add on another SKU, which is our turkey products. We have those two. To then where we were getting big in restaurant distribution nationwide, then COVID hit and we had to do a serious pivot a little more than a year ago and start getting ourselves ready for retail. And so now we have retail packaging with 2 items, soon going to be a third, Unreal steak slices, like a roast beefy steak slice coming very imminently. It's going to be amazing. And the 3 of those will be at grocers nationwide. Right now, we're in about 1,000 doors with our first 2 items and many, many more to come.
Wow. And the thing is about staying fresh, you've really got to grow, fortunately, I heard certain concepts early in my life and I've kind of used them to keep myself on track. But one of them is grow or die, because if you're not growing, you're going to stall out and then you're going to slide back. You're going to get bored. You're going to lose your concentration, and then you're going to slide back down the hill. Now you got to come all the way up again. Yep. But the second time you know how much work it's going to be. So you got that to overcome. And so I just rather not slide back down the hill. So
Absolutely.
when you grow, you've gone now to 1,000 outlets. And that's kind of mind blowing, isn't it? How does that, do you meet people? I mean, these are outlets, I've told my son, in music, I said, there's one thing, the record companies and all the industry, but think of it this way, hard to break in. They've got to have new stuff. Okay. They're not going to grow selling the same old milk and eggs. And, they got to have new products that people can get excited about. That's where growth comes from, exciting new things. And you're bringing that in, and I bet they know where people are coming in looking for your stuff. I'm sure it's disappearing out of there pretty fast. And so how did you get into those things? The breakthrough is the hardest, that getting the right person, and the right introduction and things like that. How did that work for you?
Sure. So You know, everything is like, for me, it's all been totally guerrilla style and learning on the job. So in my earliest days, back when I was cooking it myself, I would Google top Los Angeles delis and I would call
Wow.
the deli owner and say, can I come in and bring you a sample? But at the early days, I didn't even know to say that. I'd be like, my name is Jenny and I'm cooking this thing. And then I learned, just ask for the samples. And then one day someone yelled at me, they're like, never call during lunchtime. And I hung up and I had my tail between my legs. I was upset. And I said, okay, we're not calling during lunchtime, back at it, you know? So each thing you had to learn. And then I remember when I got my first customer, it was this one arts delicatessen in Studio City. And the owner had loved it. We already talked about him taking it on, da, da, da. I was like, couldn't believe my first customer, how amazing. And then he called me and he was like, actually, I don't know what the food safety, if it's really going to work. I said, I did everything I could to save the deal and I saved the deal because it's like, just
Wow.
see that one customer and then you can say to the next one, well, they're taking it, they love it. And then suddenly you're credible to the next deli. And then when I had half a dozen delis, I could then talk to my region's Whole Foods because it's like, it's a kind of a proven thing here. So let's go for it, you know? So just kept being one thing just built upon the next from strength to strength.
And every owner of a deli knows other deli owners.
Sure.
Isn't that right? I mean, the dominoes will go once you get that hold on the mountain. You can parlay that into other contacts, and you know, they're invested. You know, they want you to do well once they have you in their store, and so they're going to give you the best feedback they can.
Yep.
So now talk about how you refined that. You know, how do you keep up your production? How did you solve that production? Was that, I'm sure it was the same way, but that, you know, is it true? You know, people go into Shark Tank kind of, they come across like, if I can just get a shark, the shark will wave the wand.
Sure.
And then, the doors will open.
Right.
They'll show me where to get it produced. Everything I don't know about. All I'll have to do is ask them, and life is going to be easy. Sure, I'll work, but I won't have to dig. You know, it's the digging that separates people, you know, digging for answers.
Yep.
And how did you figure that out, or how did that come? Hey, listen, there's a lot of information online, but there aren't a lot of people who've actually done something. In my case, I've actually built a successful business that's accrued over $5 billion in assets under management and has done well even during trying times. Now, if you want to know exactly how I've done this, go to whiteelementwinning.com/webinar now. I've compressed a decade of learning into 5 short weeks just for those of you who want to give yourself an incredible advantage and are tired of waiting and watching others move up. Well, like I talked to last week, I talked to the guy who had Snacklins.
Yeah, right.
And he got in there and got, I forget how much he got, but for 5%, I think he got a couple 100,000 or something like that. And he wound up building a 10,000 square foot building because he uses only fresh products. So he couldn't outsource the thing because everybody wanted to do, you know, dried or freeze dried vegetables and his had to be fresh. So he built his own facility with the money. So that's how he solved it.
I see it. So look, I will say working with the shark, having Mark in my corner is like an amazing thing to help open doors. But as far as day to day, he gives me all the autonomy in the world. So it's really up to me to get stuff run. As far as production goes, we started at this one little facility where I was cooking it myself. And then there was a woman that I was introduced to who actually had an ice cream business, and she had a very successful ice cream business. And so when I first started off, I thought, all right, I'll meet anyone in the food industry. I just want to get some information.
Sure.
She grew her team. And she couldn't meet with me till like 2 months later. And at that point, I'd already had like a few sales. And I was like really in my deli world. I'm like, I don't need this ice cream lady. I'm in my I have sales now. But I said, you know what? I have the meeting. She's successful. Let me meet her. I drove 45 minutes each way for a 30-minute meeting. And when I sat with her the whole time, I was like, so how'd you grow your team? It was just very generic. And then at the very end, I said to her, by the way, it's come to my attention that I could use a larger facility, specifically a bakery environment, because they could put together our meats, because it's not really meat, it's more like a baked item in terms of how it's made. And she goes, I know just the lady for you. So that woman at that ice cream lady introduced me to my co-packer, who we use today. And we've also outgrown that co-packer. We're working with a second facility now. So yeah, just taking whatever meetings you can. And then once you start to grow it, people are ready to talk to you once you have customers, of course. So
yeah. Another way of, I think I've always thought of that as following the trail of breadcrumbs out there. It's like the next meeting, there's someone out there that someone mentioned they can get you in. It's like, why do I want to do that? I don't know. Go see them. And it's just like overturn every stone. Like I've had health problems, and that that normal medicine can't. Well, I had a cycling accident 13 years ago, but the thing is, like, it got to the point where I would listen like 5 minutes where they would say, here's a new person, they do this, that, and the other. I listened for 5 minutes. If I had 5 minutes of logic, I'd say, okay, I'll go see him. Because, it could sound, I could listen to an hour, but then if it didn't work for me, it doesn't work. And so the thing is, like, if someone gives you a lead, follow it up.
Exactly.
Are you frustrated like I am with people that seem to have this problem, that problem, the other, and ask you what to do, and then they never do anything with you tell them how to solve the problem, and then you find them later and they never made the follow-up phone call.
Sure. But it's probably because they didn't love that thing, and they knew that they didn't want to be doing it anyway. Because when you love it and that joy and excitement is pouring through you, you can be so crazy efficient doing so much stuff, having such output, but you have to have that love.
Yeah. And another thing is that just because they're not ready now doesn't mean they're not going to be ready down the road. We had a call with a guy inside of our company, and we're in financial services marketing, and he went to $1 million, broke $1 million in income in his second year.
Okay.
But the thing was, he tried our business 12 years ago, and he was just immature, and he didn't, they would tell him what to do and he didn't want to do it. And so he had 10 years of seasoning in another business. And finally he woke up and said, I need to be back over there. I could make so much money. But he was ready. And he was making the point. He says, it wasn't the last 2 years. He said, it was that 10 years in front where I got my head right, and probably you might look back. We've already said, it's that time in Israel when you were doing the study and you were thinking about your life and making a difference in what mattered to you, informed what you gravitated to beyond having a family and being a wife, what you gravitated towards making a life statement of value. And it's just so much fun to talk to you. And you said you're going to have a special offer for people that are listening to the podcast.
Yeah, we're going to do 20% off all items in our online store at unrealdeli.com with the code Larry.
Wow. Unbelievable. I feel so honored. And looking forward, let's make a deal. A couple of things. When I come to LA, I'm going to look you up. Great. And we're going to go get some tea or something and get a chance to see how much progress you're making. And then if everything goes well, I'd love to have you back and see what the next set of lessons you're going to be learning that you can share with those that are coming on up. And hopefully we'll have some people that have listened to this call and they've got some real magic happening in their life from some ideas that were sparked from listening to you. So thanks for sharing, Jenny.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Keep doing what you're doing, Larry. Thanks for inspiring us all.
Thank you. It was an honor. Thanks so much. Goodbye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed what you've heard and are dead serious about finding out for yourself exactly how this works in the real world, I've taken the most valuable business lessons I've learned over 40 years and put them into something for you to watch. Go to whiteelementwinning.com/webinar now in order to move up as fast as possible. I'm Larry Weidel, and I run the $1 Million Mastermind. Go, go, go.